So there's a little bit left off from 27. So which thing because he does this thing, or which thing because he does, both to the state himself to consider, or so the main verb here is going to be kind of, I think on the previous page, like what he thinks. So both himself for the state to consider, so he thinks that he's considering the interests of his own state, because from winter camps it will be relieved, so they won't have winter camps anymore, or it, it may be relieved, and to Caesar to carry back grace, or like good favor on account of his merits. So he's able to do both of these things. He's able to pay back Caesar, and he's considering the interests of his own state if he lets these guys get out of here. With this speech having been made, Ambiorix heads out. Ambiorix left. Arpaneus and Euneus, those things which they heard, to the legates carry. They, disturbed by the sudden matter, although from the enemy these things were, or by the enemy these things were being said, nevertheless they were thinking them not to be neglected, so that they must not be neglected. Greatly by this thing they were being moved. And why were they being moved greatly? Because a state ennoble, or kind of lowly, and state ennoble, or if you want another translation, unknown, yeah, I guess so, undistinguished. So a state unknown or undistinguished, and the lowliness of the Eubroni by their own will. Okay, the main verb here is it was scarcely to be believed. So it was scarcely to be believed that a state unknown and a humble state of the Eubrones, or a lowly state of the Eubrones, by their own will would dare to carry war, or to wage war with the Roman people. So they're like, these guys are so weak that if what they were saying were not true, they weren't actually all rising up in all of Gaul, then they would never have attacked us, so it must be true. And so they carry the matter to a council, so they have a meeting about this, and there exists among them a great controversy. Lucius Aurunculeius and many tribunes of soldiers and the centurions of the first order were thinking nothing rashly to be done, neither from winter camps without the order, or unordered, without being unordered of Caesar, or without the order of Caesar to be left. So they're saying that they should not leave from the winter camps without the order of Caesar. As much as you wish, and you can see it's an unusual word down here, but as much as you wish great soldiers, even of Germans, to be able to sustain, so they're thinking that they can sustain a great number of German soldiers, even with winter quarters having been fortified, they were explaining, or they were teaching. They were also teaching this, the matter to be in the testimony that the first attack of the enemy, with many furthermore with many wounds having been carried in, so that means that they inflicted many wounds on the other soldiers, most bravely they sustained. With regards to the grain matter, they are not pressed, so them not to be pressed, so they have enough grain. Meanwhile, both from the neighboring winter camps and from Caesar, help would come, and these are accusatives because they're objects of accusative infinitive constructions of what they were teaching. Finally, what to be more fickle, or more light, or more shameful than by the authority of the enemy to take up a counsel concerning the highest matters? Against these things, Titurius was shouting that it would be too late to do anything, so things would be too late when the greater bands of enemies, with the Germans having joined, had arrived. So it'll be too late to do anything, for things to be done when the greater band of enemies has arrived. or something of a calamity in neighboring winter camps would be received. So if there's some kind of trouble in the neighboring ones too, it'll be too late to do anything. Brief, to be the occasion or the time of counseling. So he's saying we don't have a lot of time to discuss this. And he's saying Caesar is thought to have set out into Italy, nor otherwise would have the Carnuti taken up the plan of killing of Tasgestius, nor would the Ubroni, if that man, as in Caesar, if Caesar were here or had been here, with such contempt would they have come to our camps. Would they have come to the camps of us or to our camps? So if Caesar were present, then they wouldn't have shown such contempt for us and attacked us. So Caesar must be gone. Don't wait for his help. We need to leave. So he's also saying these things. He's saying that he is not looking, not to look, or so that he is not looking, or that, or more literally, not to look at the authority of the enemy, or the enemy authority, but at the matter, maybe it implied itself. The Rhine to be underneath, or the Rhine to be underneath, the Rhine River, and for a great sorrow to the Germans, the death of Ariovistus and the previous victories to be, an implied essay. So these things are a great sorrow for the Germans. To be eager, Gaul, having been reduced under the authority of the Roman people, with shameful things or with indignities or insults having been received, and with the previous glory of military things having been extinguished. So they're ablaze, or they're maybe a better one here would be burning. So they're burning, and the things that they're burned by, or that Gaul has been reduced under the authority of the Romans, and with such insults having been received, and with the previous glory of military things having been extinguished. Finally, who would persuade himself by this thing, or with this thing, without a certain matter, Ambiorix, to have descended to a plan of that sort? I think it's kind of a rhetorical question, like who would convince himself of this sort of thing? That Ambiorix would have done this, and the answer is nobody. His own thought in both parts to be safety, so he thinks that in both parts there is safety. If nothing is more difficult, or if nothing would be more difficult, then with no danger to the neighboring camp, they would arrive. So basically, it'll be easy just to go over there. If there's no problem, then if there's no danger, then they just go over to the next camp, and what's the big deal? But if all Gaul with the Germans stands together, or were to stand together, then one safety having been placed in swiftness. So the one safety is to quickly get out of there. Of Cotta, indeed, and of them who were disagreeing, what plan, it's kind of like what plan, what exit to have. So like what is the plan, what is for exiting, or do you even, he basically is saying like, do you even have a plan to leave if you guys are saying we want to stay here? So what plan to have, what exit to have. In which case, if not the present danger, but then certainly by the long... So if the present danger right now of them conquering, actually getting defeated in battle, is not to be feared, then certainly because of the long siege, famine or hunger or starvation would be necessary to be feared.